People debated the disappearance in saloons, in churches, in schools. Letters poured into the New York Maritime Exchange from ordinary citizens claiming psychic visions, dreams, or divine revelations explaining the fate of the crew. Some believed Captain Briggs had intentionally staged his own disappearance to start a new life. Others accused the crew of the Dea Gracia of murder, though no evidence supported the accusation. The Mary Celeste eventually returned to American ownership, but her reputation was ruined. Sailors refused to work on her. They claimed the ship was cursed. They said they heard footsteps on deck at night, or saw mysterious shadows at the bow. One shipmate claimed to have seen a pale woman standing near the helm, only to watch her vanish like mist. Superstition became so intense that the ship's later captains avoided even speaking her name. In 1885, just 13 years after her ghostly discovery, the Mary Celeste met her final fate when a new captain intentionally wrecked her in a fraud scheme. He ran her aground on a reef off Haiti, planning to claim insurance money. But even in death, the ship's curse seemed to linger. The captain never collected the policy, and the fraud was exposed. There, at the edge of a coral reef in the Caribbean, the Mary Celeste slowly broke apart, swallowed piece by waves and time. But the mystery did not sink with her. To this day, historians, scientists, and naval experts continue to analyze her story. Modern computer models have tested theories of storms and rogue waves. Forensic studies have examined logbook entries and damage reports. Deep-sea research teams have tried to find evidence of what could have happened to a crew that vanished so cleanly. Yet the truth is still missing, lost perhaps forever, somewhere in the depths of the Atlantic. What makes the mystery so enduring is that the Mary Celeste is not a ghost story invented from imagination. It is a true case, fully documented, thoroughly investigated, witnessed by multiple ships, and reported by newspapers across the world. The items left behind aboard the abandoned vessel prove that something real and very unusual happened in late November of 1872 to an American captain, his family, and his crew. They did not simply disappear. They made a choice in those final moments. They lowered the lifeboat, boarded it calmly, and left behind a ship that should never have been abandoned. What made them do it? Why did a seasoned captain, known for caution, leave his safe, solid ship? Why did a mother carry her 2-year-old daughter into a tiny lifeboat instead of staying aboard a vessel strong enough to survive the open sea? Why was the evacuation so orderly? No torn clothing, no panic, no blood, no broken items? And perhaps worst of all, where did the lifeboat go? The ocean is a vast and unforgiving place. A small wooden lifeboat carrying 10 people could easily be overturned by a rogue wave, swallowed by a storm, or slowly starve in open water until it sank beneath the waves. No sightings were ever reported. No fragments washed ashore. The Atlantic kept its secret, silent and merciless. In the end, the fate of the Mary Celeste remains the kind of mystery that feels almost impossible, because it involves not disappearances in the wilderness, nor plane crashes, nor secret military programs. It involves an entire American crew sailing aboard a healthy ship in good weather, suddenly leaving it without damage, without warning, without explanation, and vanishing into empty ocean. There are many mysteries in American history, but few as haunting, vivid, and incomprehensible as the ghost ship found drifting between worlds, between safety and danger, common sense and instinct, the living, and the lost. Even now, more than a century and a half later, the last unanswered question lingers like a whisper over the waves. What did the crew of the Mary Celeste see, hear, or fear that made them abandon their own ship and never return? Perhaps somewhere in the cold, dark Atlantic, their story still drifts, waiting to be found.
If you were sailing across the open Atlantic on a crisp December morning in 1872, you might have seen it too. An American merchant brigantine drifting silently through the cold waves, its sails partly set, its flag fluttering, its hull perfectly intact, yet carrying not a single soul aboard. No bodies, no signs of struggle. Lunch still set on the table. A ship in flawless condition, fully stocked, fully seaworthy, and fully abandoned. For more than 150 years, the mystery of the Mary Celeste has haunted sailors, historians, and investigators. It is one of the most baffling real events in maritime history. An American ghost ship found adrift in the open ocean, its crew vanished without a trace, leaving behind a puzzle so strange that even today, in an age of satellites and forensic science, no one can fully explain what happened. And the deeper you dig into the story, the stranger it becomes. When the Mary Celeste left New York Harbor on November 7, 1872, nothing about the voyage seemed unusual. She was a proud American vessel, rebuilt and strengthened after a series of unfortunate earlier voyages, and now under the capable command of Captain Benjamin Briggs, a man admired for his strict discipline, deep faith, and flawless seamanship. Briggs was not traveling alone. He brought his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. It was not common for captains to bring their families across the Atlantic, but Briggs believed this voyage to Genoa, Italy, carrying 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol, would be safe. The crew consisted of 7 experienced sailors, trustworthy, capable, and without any known conflicts. Captain Briggs was extremely careful about the men he hired. He would sooner delay a voyage for weeks than sail with troublemakers. Everything about the Mary Celeste was carefully prepared. The cargo was loaded securely, the provisions were abundant enough for 6 months, and the ship's hull, recently refurbished, was in excellent condition. But even before the voyage began, small details hinted that something uncanny was waiting ahead. Captain Briggs sold his shares in another ship just days before departure, writing to his mother that he felt somehow unusual about this journey. His wife voiced a similar unease in a letter home, noting that although she trusted her husband completely, she felt unexplainably anxious. Whether these feelings were intuition, superstition, or coincidence, we will never know. As the Mary Celeste slipped out to sea, the sky was clear and the wind was strong, a perfect day to begin a transatlantic crossing. No one on the New York docks watching her disappear over the horizon could imagine she would become the most famous ghost ship in American history. For nearly 1 month, nothing unusual was known to have happened. The Mary Celeste didn't have radio communication. Ships of that era simply trusted wind, compass, charts, and luck. The last entry in the captain's log, later found aboard the abandoned vessel, was calm and routine. Weather, steady. Heading, east-southeast. Sails, trimmed. Speed, moderate. Nothing in the notes suggested danger, fear, or confusion. And that is what makes the discovery so chilling. On December 4th, 1872, another ship, the Dei Gratia, spotted a distant vessel behaving strangely. The ship seemed to be sailing erratically, its movements hesitant and unnatural, almost like a drunk stagger across the waves. Captain Morehouse ordered his first mate to examine it through a spyglass. The name painted on the bow sent a ripple of shock through the crew. Mary Celeste. Morehouse was stunned. He knew Captain Briggs personally. Both men had dined together in New York just before departing for Europe. Their ships had left only 8 days apart. The Mary Celeste ahead, the Dei Gratia behind. For Morehouse to find her here meant something was wrong. He ordered a boarding party. When the first mates climbed onto the deck of the Mary Celeste, they were met with a silence so deep it felt unnatural. The sails flapped weakly in the wind. The wheel turned slightly with each swell, though no one held it. The ropes were secure. There was no sign of a fight, no blood, no storm damage, no broken masts. Inside, below deck, the interior was dry and nearly immaculate. The crew's personal belongings were in place. The captain's logbook lay on the desk, ink dry but unextraordinary. Mrs. Briggs's sewing machine sat neatly in her cabin. The ship's one pump was working, though minor water had accumulated in the bilge, normal for that kind of voyage. There was no fire, no explosion, no leaking cargo. Even the food seemed untouched. The boarding party found meals still preserved in the galley, suggesting the crew had eaten recently and calmly. But one detail stood out. The ship's one lifeboat was missing. Not destroyed, not torn away, not half hanging from ropes, simply missing. Everything else, cargo, supplies, charts, sextants, remained. Imagine the scene. A perfectly seaworthy American vessel, stocked with 6 months of food and water, drifting unmanned in the Atlantic, deserted without struggle or panic, and with only one lifeboat missing. Why would a captain as responsible as Briggs abandon such a ship? That question launched a century and a half of theories, each one more incredible than the last. When the Mary Celeste was towed to Gibraltar for investigation, maritime officials were baffled. They examined the hull carefully, no signs of collision. They tested the alcohol barrels. Most were intact, though some had leaked due to expansion, a normal and non-dangerous reaction. They interviewed everyone from the Dei Gratia. They checked the ship's records. They even sliced open parts of the deck to see if hidden damage existed. Nothing. One investigator wrote, "It is as though the people simply walked off the ship into the air." Rumors began immediately. People love mysteries, and this one was irresistible. Some believe the crew mutinied, murdered the Briggs family, and escaped, yet nothing aboard the ship supported violence or chaos. Captain Briggs was respected, and mutinies rarely occur on calm seas in well-run ships. Others imagined pirates had boarded her. But pirates do not leave valuables, cargo, or personal possessions untouched. Every item of value on the ship remained. Another rumor claimed that an underwater earthquake, called a seaquake, shocked the ship so violently that it made the crew think the vessel was sinking, prompting them to launch the lifeboat. But the Mary Celeste was perfectly intact, far too steady for a panic evacuation. A more bizarre theory suggested that the fumes from the alcohol barrels caused a temporary explosion, loud enough to terrify the crew, but not strong enough to leave marks. In this scenario, Captain Briggs might have ordered everyone into the lifeboat until the fumes dissipated. Then perhaps the rope connecting the lifeboat to the ship snapped, separating them forever. The lifeboat would drift away helplessly, leaving the Mary Celeste to continue alone. It's a plausible scenario, but still pure guesswork. Some suggested a giant waterspout sucked the crew away. Others spoke of deadly sea creatures. Still others whispered about supernatural forces, ghosts, curses, sea monsters. None of these theories stand the test of reason, yet they flourished because the truth remained maddeningly out of reach. The American public was captivated. Newspapers across the United States printed sensational headlines.